The cabin was buzzing with the sounds of passengers getting comfortable as the plane prepared for departure. For the Carter family, this was supposed to be the beginning of a relaxing getaway, a break from everyday life, a chance to unwind, reconnect, and just enjoy the moment. Amelia Carter adjusted her daughter Lily's seatbelt with practiced hands, her movements calm and smooth, a reflection of someone who had flown many times before. Her husband, Lucas, skimmed through the in-flight magazine, clearly uninterested in its content. Across the aisle, their 9-year-old son Ben gazed out the window, fascinated by the busy ground crew as they loaded the luggage onto the plane. The atmosphere was peaceful, the kind of serene calm that typically lingers before a flight takes off. But that tranquility was short-lived. A figure appeared in the aisle, casting a shadow over their little bubble. Dressed in a crisply pressed uniform, a flight attendant stood there, her arms crossed tightly. Her name tag read Alice Johnson, but her lack of warmth made it clear that her role wasn't to make passengers feel at ease. "Boarding passes," she stated, her voice sharp and to the point. Amelia blinked, caught off guard. "I'm sorry, could you repeat that?" she asked politely. Alice's tone was cold. "Your boarding passes now." Amelia, a little flustered, reached into her bag and handed over the printed tickets. "Here you go," she said, forcing a smile. Alice glanced at the tickets and then looked back at the family with a critical eye. "These are for economy," she said, motioning to the row they were seated in. "This section is for premium customers." Lucas raised an eyebrow. "Yes, we booked Economy Plus." Without hesitation, Alice responded, "You'll need to move to the back of the plane." Ben sat up, his eyes wide with confusion. "What?" Amelia's stomach tightened. "Is there a problem with our reservation?" Alice leaned closer, her voice a whisper, barely concealing her contempt. "I'm not sure how you got these seats, but they are for premium customers only." Lucas' tone hardened. "We are premium customers." A hush fell over the surrounding passengers as whispers began to circulate. Amelia kept her voice steady. "Can you please check with the gate agent? We were confirmed for these seats." Alice's patience snapped. "Move, or I'll call security." There was a collective gasp as the tension in the cabin thickened. Amelia's hands trembled as she gathered her things, while Lucas' jaw tightened in anger. Ben, clutching his backpack, stared at Alice as the family walked toward the rear of the plane, feeling the eyes of the entire cabin on them. But what they didn't know was that someone else had been observing the entire scene unfold, someone who was not just a regular passenger. Up in the front of the plane, in the luxurious first-class cabin, Daniel Davis, a senior executive at Skywing Airlines, was quietly watching the unfolding drama. His sharp eyes didn't miss a thing. Daniel wasn't just another passenger. He was an observer, evaluating the service on this flight. He quickly set his phone down and dialed his assistant. "There's an issue on Flight 102. Handle it immediately." Meanwhile, at the back of the plane, Amelia and her family settled into their new seats, trying to stay calm. Amelia held Lily close, keeping her voice steady for the children. Lucas, arms crossed, was seething. "This isn't right." "I know," Amelia replied softly, her mind racing. A younger flight attendant named Sophie, who had been watching the entire exchange, approached Alice hesitantly. "Did they have the wrong seats?" she asked. Alice didn't respond, her eyes cold. "They don't belong in premium." Sophie frowned. She had seen the family. They were polite, quiet. None of it made sense. Back in first class, Daniel Davis had already received confirmation that the family's seats were legitimate. They had been wrongfully removed. He quickly sent a message to Sophie. "Family's tickets are valid. Handle it." Alice had no idea what was coming next. Alice walked through the first-class section, serving drinks and smiling, as if nothing had happened. But the illusion of normalcy shattered when the phone on the cockpit rang. "This is Alice," she answered, her voice tense. "Ms. Johnson, report to the cockpit immediately," came the commanding voice over the intercom. Alice's heart rate picked up. Inside the cockpit, Alice was met by Captain George Matthews and First Officer Sam Harper. But what caught her off guard was the screen in front of them showing a live video call with James Wilkins, the company's VP of Operations. Alice froze. "Ms. Johnson, "We need to discuss your actions today," James said, his voice low but authoritative. "I was following protocol," Alice replied, trying to defend herself. James looked at Captain Matthews, who responded, "Their tickets were valid. You humiliated them without verifying any details." A chill ran through Alice. She hadn't realized who was watching. "Do you know who was seated in 1A?" James asked, his voice cutting through the silence. Alice blinked. "No, who?" "Daniel Davis," James replied. He saw everything. The weight of his words sank in. "And because of your actions," James continued, "you've caused a PR nightmare for the company." Alice's heart sank as she realized the full extent of her mistake. "You're relieved of duty," James concluded. When Alice re-entered the cabin, she immediately felt the shift in atmosphere. The other flight attendants avoided her gaze, and passengers eyed her with suspicion. But the real blow came from the family she had wronged. From the back of the plane, Lucas' calm voice cut through the silence. "You should apologize to us, not just the other passengers." Amelia placed a hand on his arm, trying to stay composed, but she didn't stop him. She agreed. "You had no problem humiliating us in front of everyone," Lucas continued, his voice steady but firm. "Now you can apologize in front of everyone." The entire cabin fell silent, and eyes turned toward Alice. Alice's voice trembled as she spoke. "I apologize for the inconvenience." "But it wasn't enough." "It wasn't about inconvenience," Amelia replied coldly. "You humiliated us," Lucas added. "You assumed we didn't belong without even checking." Alice's shoulders sagged, and for the first time, she genuinely apologized. "I was wrong. I didn't verify. I judged you, and I'm truly sorry." The cabin fell silent again, but this time, Amelia and Lucas exchanged a glance of quiet satisfaction. After landing, Alice sat alone in the jump seat, her mind spiraling. The final announcement came through the intercom. "Ms. Johnson will be escorted off the aircraft. She is no longer employed with Skywing Airlines." Gasps rippled through the cabin as passengers recorded the moment. No one looked away this time. Justice was unfolding right in front of them. As Alice walked past the Carter family, Ben glanced at her, not with anger, but with disappointment. And that look hit harder than any punishment could have. Outside the terminal, the media storm began. Tweets, video clips, and news headlines spread like wildfire. The story was everywhere. Flight attendant fired after racially profiling family. For weeks, Alice couldn't find another job. No airline would touch her. Her reputation was ruined. Every application ended with the same rejection letter. "We've chosen another candidate." Sitting in her apartment, Alice scrolled through the footage of that day, seeing herself through the lens of the public. A woman who had made assumptions without cause, who had believed she was in the right. But the Carters had walked off that plane with their dignity intact, while Alice walked away with nothing. The fallout from Alice's actions rippled far beyond the cabin, forever altering her life. Meanwhile, the Carter family emerged unscathed, their dignity intact. What was meant to be a simple vacation turned into a stark reminder. Integrity and respect always outweigh assumptions, and truth has a way of prevailing.